Welcome to In the Pocket, your go-to source for all things social media marketing and branding. Stay ahead of the game and learn the latest strategies to boost your online presence and connect with your audience. So join us and start growing your brand today.
And welcome everybody to this episode of In the Pocket with your host, Stacey King.
Welcome everyone. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. First up, I want to go over a few items that make things go a bit more smoothly. Everyone is muted during this webinar. However, if you have a question, you can place those in the Q&A, and we'll be sure to get those addressed throughout the training. If you have any comments during the presentation, also feel free to place those in the chat. Both Angela and I will be monitoring Q&A and the chat window, so we'll be sure to address any questions or comments that you may have. This training is brought to you by Social Jazz. SocialJazz.com orchestrates relationships, not music. They're a unique social media management tool for keeping your business present and front of mind in your community. My special guest today is Angela Keel of BXB Media. Before BXB, Angela spent 20 years in the food service, customer service, and management industry. In Angela's hospitality days, fun fact, she cooked and served meals to Whitney Houston, Tilda Swinton, Ryan Gosling, Eva Mendes, Matt Smith, David Lynch, Tom Hiddleston, Richard Gere, and the entire Broadway cast of Les Miz, and more. That's so fun. Welcome, Angela, and I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Stacey. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. I'm super excited that you asked me to share some of my expertise. I'm really excited. BXB Media has partnered with Social Jazz. So let me just start, and then I'll give you a brief history when I get to that picture on the slides.
Sounds great.
Let's do this. Okay, great. So what we're talking about today is content marketing and social strategies for home services. First, I'll just give a little quick background. I work for BXB Media. This is a picture of our whole team. We're based in Detroit. We are a full service marketing firm. We work exclusively with home service industries, so HVAC, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. We do have some outliers. We have a couple of people that do like eye doctors. We have a guy that does elevator cabs, things like that. But generally speaking, it's all local service specifically home services. So this is a picture of most of our team. We got all together last year in Detroit, and we did sort of a team building week or a couple days, I guess. My name is Angela Keel. I'm the creative strategist. I've worked for BXB for just about 8 years, going on 8 years. So I have 8 years of experience in HVAC marketing, specifically in content development, SEO, marketing management, marketing calendars, and all that stuff. So my job now currently is the creative strategist. I was the original, what's called the web coach, was originally called a web coach. Now we call them marketing coaches with BXB. We work one-on-one with individual dealers to work on all their marketing as a whole, specifically with their websites and social and all of those things. We're really excited to partner with Social Jazz. Social media has been one of those things that, as time has gone on, has become more and more in depth. There's more and more pieces involved with that, and we really have always been looking for like a strong partner that has the same values as we do, that provides the service that our clients are looking for. And so we're really excited to work with Social Jazz and be able to turn customers over to you guys. And I'm excited to be able to bring some of my expertise to you today. So without further ado, so social media for small business, what I've learned over the years, it's about creating a conversation, developing your relationship with your customers through your company's sort of internet personality. Each one of the different channels will have sort of maybe a different voice or a different type of method you might follow as you're going through that. But it's really about developing a relationship. It's about creating conversations. And I'll get to a little bit further down why some of those are really important. So first, we're just going to look at some of the social channels. Wait, I mixed up my slides. this is why you need social media. Sorry about that. So there are 8 billion people on the globe. There are 4.9 billion of them using social media as of 2023, which is over 2/3 of internet users and over 1 in 3 people worldwide on social media platforms. The various social media channels, the ones that I use with my clients more often, this will go over some of them, Facebook or Meta, as it's now known, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and podcasts. I would say Facebook primarily and Instagram, and we'll look at a couple of some more details about each one of them in a minute. So, which social platform is best for a local business? So there are certain reasons why you would use different types of media. It depends on what you're looking for. It depends on what your objectives are. When we look at, if you're a B2B, would be something with LinkedIn. If you're a local service, you might look at something like recruiting on LinkedIn. If you do more commercial type of, if you're more heavy commercial in your company, you might focus more on LinkedIn because of the nature of how you acquire customers. Also, Twitter is really good for B2B. When we talk about B2C, when we're talking about local dealers, residential, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are going to be your strongest contenders. That doesn't mean you can't use all of the different platforms. But in my experience and through marketing for home services, these tend to be get the best results, conversions and engagement. Also, if you're B2C, YouTube on its own. Things to think about, what to focus on as you're trying to decide what to do with social media. What is your target demographic for installations and service? So you as the company owner is going to know the most about your business. And this is where you're going to look at who is your target customer. So for an older audience, someone that's like 40 years up, 40 years, 60 plus, that's where you're going to look more to something like Facebook and YouTube. Instagram can fall in there too as well, but the users on Facebook tend to be the older generation now, funnily enough. That's going to be where you're going to get like your target market is people using Facebook. If you're looking for like a younger audience, more like 20 to 40, you're going to look more toward Instagram and Snapchat. TikTok, things like that. So Instagram is going to sort of bridge the gap, and Instagram is owned by Meta or Facebook. So you can sort of co-post on those things. So depending on where your company sits and what your target demographic is, you might look one more or less toward one of these platforms more than the other. I'm going to talk a little bit about posting. So when we talk about posting as a whole, when you have conversations about social media sort of across the board, not just for local service, they talk about what's called the 10-4-1 rule. This is a little top level, but they often say more is better, right? 4 times a day, 10 posts being reposts of others, 4 being original content, and of that 4, have 1 be a call to action. And this is just important in general. For home service, in my experience, we don't really need to post this frequently. But it's a good general rule of thumb to think about, is that we want to have a ratio of reposting content or posting like your own blog versus something promotional every single time. And we want to sort of alternate the types of posts we're doing. And we don't want to overwhelm our users with calls to action, things like that. 1 post per day, 3 times a week can be sufficient. This is my experience of doing social for HVAC for a number of years. And every 3rd or 4th post is a call to action. We don't want to overwhelm people with like call us. Every post is like a call us or get this service or we have this or we have that, right? Because it's more about the conversation. We want to create a fun personality online, and we want people to engage with us, and we don't want to overwhelm them by constantly trying to sell them something. And this is something where Social Jazz actually can really help with some of that. Is they have a lot of tools under their belt to help you figure out what types of posts you want to do. They of course understand a lot of this higher level posting ratios and things like that, right? So this is not something, if you were to partner with another company, this isn't necessarily something that you should be taking care of yourself, but it is something to be aware of, is that what we really want to do is people engage with us. And I don't know about you, but like if I'm being sold to too much, I eventually stop looking at that ad, or I eventually turn it off. I tell them I don't want to see this anymore. So you want to be careful about not overwhelming your audience with too many promotions, and you want to keep it fun and light. So what should I post? This is always where I start, is like, what kind of content do you like, right? So the thing about when you're running a company is that this is a higher level conversation probably about brand, which eventually we could have another conversation about brand development, which would be fun. But when we talk about brand, we want the messaging to be consistent. We want it to be fun. We want people to engage with it and be delighted when they see a post that comes from our company. And so what I always say to the owners of companies is like, what do you like? It's going to feel natural if you look to content that you think is funny, or you think is entertaining, or you think is useful, and repost those types of things. What kinds of things are you good at? Like, this is just a basic place to start. Like, are you naturally good at creating content? Do you know how to do video? Are you a good photographer? Do you have somebody on your staff that's good at those things? Utilize the tools that you have internally to help produce content and help create that conversation. Are you a subject matter expert? So everybody that is running, that owns or runs an HVAC company is probably a subject matter expert in comparison to the like civilians in your area, right? So think about the things that you know the most about and post about them, right? Show your expertise through your social channels. What kind of content do you like to share? And this is the same thing that I think about when I'm talking about creating content for a website, all of those types of things. Is like, what do you find interesting for yourself, and go off of that? What would you be looking for if you were Googling something? What are you looking for? Take that concept and let's roll it into what types of things should I post, right? So rolling right from there into content ideas. And if I was coaching one of my clients through like, how do we build a content calendar? What are we doing? What are we creating? Where are we going with this? Some of the recommendations I have are post links to your own blog or other articles 2 to 3 times a month. There's plenty of like industry information out there. There's lots. I wouldn't link to a competitor necessarily, but you might be able to find another company that's like far out of your service area that provides some valuable information. So posting links to those blogs a couple times a month. If you have a company, or if you're writing blogs for your own company and you have 1 or 2 a month, you should always post those on social media. It presents you as the subject matter expert. It also links back to your site. It creates backlinks and SEO. It's all really good for your site as well. Talk about your products and services. So I often say things like product spotlights, product highlights, things like that. If you do anything like add-on services, so obviously heating and cooling companies, plumbing and electric, we have like a standard set of things that we do. We install a furnace system. We do ductless, we do, all those types of things, but maybe we want to let our clients know about a specific type of carbon monoxide detector we have in, maybe we want to talk about a specific new air purifier, those types of things that are not necessarily directly connected to an HVAC company in your mind. That might be something that you could highlight on social media, and people are like, oh, great, this is such great information. I better call this company. I often say any kind of book now free estimate, like we want to follow that rule of 4s, or every 4th post can be like a promotional type of thing that's saying you should book with us now, you call us today, that kind of thing. Book now, free estimate. Anything that you guys are promoting out in the world over here should also be promoted on social media. Memes. Should post memes because they're very entertaining. They're very shareable. Again, this is where I would go to whoever it is that's managing your social media. My recommendation is to have it some kind of branded along with your company, because if you post a cute meme and somebody shares that because it's funny, if you have your logo or if you have some kind of like identifier along with that, it's free publicity, basically. Company review spotlight, employee spotlight. This is a really good thing to pull once a month or so, is looking for really good reviews that came through wherever. Also employee spotlights, employee of the month. That's a really good thing. It's something that you can roll over month to month and use on a regular basis. Any type of community involvement. This is something I coach my clients on a lot, is to get involved in the community. Those types of things kind of create social content in and of themselves. When you're out in the community and you're being involved in as a company in your wider community, it creates a really good story that can be shared online, and make sure that you're documenting those things effectively, having people take pictures, etc. People can use their cell phones. Cell phones are so high-powered machines at this point. Like, you don't have to have a professional photographer take pictures. You can do it right from your phone. Almost any phone will provide internet-ready content. Giveaways are a really good thing. The other thing, we'll get into this a little bit later, is just sort of talking about engagement as a general rule, or as a general thing on social. Things like giveaways are really great for social engagement. I have a client that does one every like 3 or 4 months. They put together like basically a giveaway basket, and they run a giveaway on Facebook, and they have people submit their names, and whoever wins then gets the prize, right? And it's basically just free publicity. They have to put up a couple bucks to get this like basket put together, but people share it. People get really excited. It builds their brand, that kind of stuff. Playing games, doing quizzes or polls. Most of the platforms will have options to do something like this, do a quiz, do a poll. They have them built right in. The other thing to think about is check out what your competition is doing. So look at some of the other people in your area, or some other people across the country that you know produce good content. Look at what they're doing. See if there's any way that they can, if there's something that you can take from what they're doing. A lot of people that have great ideas are willing, not only do they not own them, but are willing to share some of their success, right? So check out what they're doing and see what they're doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about TikTok, because there's a couple TikTok accounts that I think are doing a fabulous job. And this is something that I would suggest, that if you can have somebody that can start producing this type of content, it's very, now I made these slides before the whole we might not have TikTok thing anymore, but it's worth knowing. And if you can get in and review some of the way that they're using their content, it's very interesting.
We're gonna start breaking it.
Hush.
Three.
I didn't know it was gonna play. Shoot, how can I go back?
That's okay.
I didn't know it was gonna play. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
wait.
you could just skip that slide and just tell them what it's about if you need
Yeah.
to.
Well, I'll put the links in.
Perfect.
I put the links in there. I didn't know it was gonna play. But I'll just basically, the thing about these TikTok accounts and the content that I'll share, like when we send out, if are we going to send out slides or anything, they're just really good accounts to review in terms of their branding, the message that goes through, and basically what they're doing is they're out on a job and they have somebody that creates literally a 30-second video about what they're doing with the panel and the AC, or and it's really good content. It's a very unique way to use social to promote your company as an HVAC company. I'll put the links in there. I didn't know it was going to play. I thought I had turned it off and I didn't know how to fix it.
No, educational. You're teaching somebody about what your expertise is, and you're showing them as you're on the job. Hey, this is what we're doing today. This is our project, and this is why we're doing it. And if you're having a similar problem, this is how you can fix it. Yeah, it's a great approach.
Yeah, and the thing is like creating an educated customer base is really going to serve you in the long run, and having that, again, we'll get to engagement in a minute, but having that shareable content, the content that people are engaging with is really important. So the takeaways from here is, I would say, don't bite off more than you can chew. There's a lot of different platforms to choose from. Being more active on 2 platforms is better than being only a little bit active on the bunch of platforms. And then do what you're good at already. And that's kind of what the TikToks are trying to show, is like you're literally just creating content by what you're doing every day, all the time already. You just need to organize it a teeny bit, right? So showcase that how you're a subject matter expert with what you're doing already. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. You can just take what you're doing already and document it slightly, and you're going to create that subject matter, that expertise around that. So I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, we're good.
we're good.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit about engagement now. So basically, so what we call the engagement algorithm, it's just a general term that refers to how people interact with the content you produce, how if they like it, react, comment, share. All of this is good. The shares are where it's at. I don't know if you know who Neil Patel is. He's like a big SEO social guy in the industry. He says shares are the currency of the social media world. And really, I think that's where we talk about like the memes, the polls, the giveaways, those kinds of things that create the engagement, because what's really happening is the algorithms are so advanced at this point that whether it's Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, the more people are engaging with them, like, I don't know if you've ever watched a video on Instagram or something, or even TikTok, and they're like and share this, you know, they're telling you that they want you to do those things because that's what the algorithm is picking up on. And the more people share your content, the more likely that you know, infamous them that runs these companies, the more likely it is that your stuff will show up on top. The more people interact with it, the more they like it, essentially. We're going to look at a couple engagement stats. So 71% of people who interact with a brand on social media have a good experience, and they're likely to recommend that company to a friend. Social media is one of the best ways to create that loyal following and deliver a customer experience. Like I said in the very beginning, it's like about these conversations. It's about interacting, and like half the population is on social media at this point. You know, it's not only about how you interact with the customer one-on-one here. It's really about how you continue interacting with your customers, like in this virtual world. So much of our life exists in this virtual space at this point that if you're not having a conversation in the virtual space, like you're missing out on potentially half your customers, right? From 2021 to 2022, the number of consumers who preferred using social messaging for customer service rose 110%. And I don't have the number from where it came from 2020 to 2021. I can't remember what that number is, but the number of people that are using social messaging and social media to interact with companies, now this would be all the way across the board, not specifically local service, but the amount of people that are using messaging and chat to interact with a customer has risen like an incredible amount since 2020. I mean, obviously everyone's at home, so we're trying to find another way to communicate. But again, if you're not interacting in that digital space, if you're not offering that option to your customer, you're potentially losing out on quite a bit of customers and revenue. So how to engage in engagement? So respond faster. So 79% of customers expect a response in social media within 24 hours. And 39% of customers expect a reply within 30 minutes. That means you need to have somebody that's there ready to interact with your customers. And that's, again, social media is very fast paced. It happens immediately. You know, if something's 3 days old, like somebody's going to look at something and they're going to be like, oh, that's 2 months old. You know, that's why we want to make sure that we're staying current. We're posting at least once or twice a week, and keeping on top of that. Be genuine. This goes back to like, what are you good at? What's your voice? What do you believe? You know, if you can be genuine and authentic and honest, speaking in your company voice, you build trust and longevity with your customers. And this goes beyond just social media as well. This is also, like, again, a branding exercise. When you have your voice, when you know what your company brand, what your intangibles, what your mission, vision, values are, when you're very clear on those things come through. I actually think I took it out, but I was talking about, I think I took the slide out, is what happens at the top filters through to the rest of the company. So if you as the owner, you believe these things, no matter where you're interacting or no matter how you're acting or where you are, those are going to filter down to the rest of the company, right? So when you're genuine, you have that authentic voice, when you're talking about the things that you know about, you are experts in the HVAC, plumbing, electric, home services, whatever, right? You are experts in those industries. Use that expertise and just talk about what you know, right? That's going to filter down, and it comes through as honest. You know, it builds the trust and longevities with your customers, especially as you start interacting with them. We'll see that again in a couple slides. I'll show you another thing about in the conversation online. So, and then the other one, again, practice follow through, practice what you preach, be consistent with your message. So, Okay, should I keep going? I feel weird, like, any questions? I want to be like, any questions?
We're good.
All right. Do I really need to explain how important online reviews are? So this is another piece of social in general and of online customer interaction. We have all probably been beat over the head with how important online reviews are for the last 8 years. I feel like since I started doing this, it's all I hear is reviews, reviews, reviews. And even in the last 5 years, the conversation around reviews have changed quite a bit. But I'm going to talk a little bit about reviews as engagement and why they're so important, because you can get reviews on social media, and it is really important to cultivate and be interactive with those reviews. Responding to reviews is one of the best ways you can interact with your customers online. You know, we want to share we want to post content, and we want to be creating content that is shareable, that people want to interact with. But one of the best ways to interact with your customers is that people are going to leave you reviews. And it's really important they are opening the conversation with you when they leave a review. There are studies that show that the more you respond to reviews, the more you get. From the Harvard Business Review, they did a study across the board. I think this was maybe a couple of years ago, but they found that when businesses start responding to reviews, they receive a 12% increase in reviews, and their ratings increase. So it's really important that you want to respond to every review every time. It opens that conversation up. I don't know about you, but like even when I'm on Instagram and like I comment on my sister's, like just my sister's page, and she like likes it or like responds, I'm like, oh, yay, right? There's like that little like, oh, good, they responded to me. Or like, I was trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but like I'll comment on somebody that's not even a friend of mine, like an artist or like a musician or something. And occasionally they will either like your comment or respond back. And it is like so cool. And that is exactly what happens with companies. So if you're posting on Facebook, you're posting on Instagram, wherever it is, and somebody's commenting or somebody's tagging you or somebody sends a review, if you respond to those, it starts to create this energy around there, and you will get more. You will get more comments, you will get more shares, you will get more reviews. So putting this into practice, we're going to talk a little bit about a content strategy. Now, all of this is great. I also know specifically that one of the things that Social Jazz will do is they help develop a content strategy. Some of this can be a little bit overwhelming when you're thinking about doing it for yourself. One of the things that's great about what Content Jazz. What Social Jazz does is they'll help develop content strategy, content calendars, which are really cool. They start scheduling, all of those types of things that actually take a lot of the heavy lifting out of doing this, which is really awesome. But if we're going to do it on our own, let's talk about content strategy a little bit. In its most basic terms, content strategy helps you achieve your goals by keeping you on track so that you can create valuable content, drive engagement, and increase conversions, right? So we want people to know that we're subject matter experts. We're providing valuable content. They're sharing, liking, commenting, whatever our engagement metrics are. And then, of course, from there, the point is, right, we want to get more sales. We want people to call us. We're trying to fill our calendars, all of that type of stuff. So a content strategy will basically keep all of those things in line. So we have consistent messaging and all of those things. So in creating content for anything, but specifically home services, this is where I start, right? So ask these questions. Who is your average customer? You know, that is going to be one of those things that helps you decide what platforms to be on, how your messaging sounds, what types of things to put out. You know, if you're in an area that does have a younger demographic, you might really want to focus some time and energy on producing TikTok content, hiring somebody that knows how that platform works and knows how to interact on it. You know, that might be really useful to you depending on what your demographic is. If you have an older demographic, if you service more of like the 60 plus type of neighborhoods, Facebook is going to be the place to be, right? If you're commercial, LinkedIn might be something that you want to focus more energy on. So it all depends on who your average customer is. And what do they want, right? What kinds of, as the company owner, you're going to know what your typical job is, What are your most likely add-ons? You know, are you in an area where they're looking for high efficiency, for more indoor air quality, geothermal, different types of things? So that's also going to go into what we're doing as we create a content strategy. What is everybody's unique needs? What do they prioritize in their life? What do they like and dislike? All of these questions like go into understanding who your customer is, who they are, and that's going to determine what type of messaging we put out. You know, the messaging that we might service to somebody that's in like Canada is going to be different than like California, right? So it all depends on like who your customer is and what types of things that they're looking for. A good content strategy understands your audience. Why are you using social media? I have a typo, I just saw it. Build an audience, not and. Get more shares, create a loyal customer base, sell equipment, increase sales, get leads. All of these are valuable, and all of them might be the reason you're using social media. You know, it's important to prioritize exactly what it is you're trying to do. Again, in my experience, there's a lot, you know, what we really want to do is fill our calendars. But it's similar, you know, we're not talking about SEO and that type of thing, but it's a similar, like all that stuff that you do online. I always explain it, like I always say, it's more like an art than a science, right? Like there's no one thing that's going to make it work. There's no one thing that we're trying to do, right? It's about sort of honing the craft. It's about all of these pieces in collectively are going to increase your leads, are going to help you grow. Is social media going to be the silver bullet that, you know, helps you grow 25% next year? Maybe it might. Most likely it's going to be a combination of all of those things, and social media, the various platforms and the various ways that we use social media are all going to lend to that growth, right? But a good content strategy has clear goals. So it's important to like really prioritize and understand exactly what we're trying to do. You know, I do have one client that the most important thing for them, of course, is to fill their calendar. I guess that's really the most important thing always, but I do have another client that he does use this social media more specifically to just engage with his audience. Of course, he's going to get leads from it. Of course, he's going to try to fill his calendar. Of course, he's going to try to grow. Like those are obviously understandable, but his main purpose in using social is to engage with his customers and create fun content. Whereas another client of mine, his main goal is to fill his calendar. So his messaging is a lot different, right? So it's really important to understand exactly what we're trying to do, and that's going to help hone how the content sounds across the board. A couple extra tips. I just want to, as I was taking notes, I wasn't entirely sure like how, like I couldn't easily move into some of these, but I wanted to include them and talk a little bit about it. Videos are like probably in the last year, 2 years have blown up in the way that people interact on social media. Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, TikTok really sort of kicked it off, I think, a couple years ago. Social media is so fast paced. Everyone wants visual content. Nobody's reading 500-word essays on Facebook. We want bullet points. We want captions on videos. People are scrolling fast. We need to grab people's attention. Videos are really important to figure out. They're going to produce good engagement. The other thing is targeting social ads. We're not really talking about ads or how to run ads here, but it's really important to understand one of the really useful pieces of doing ads on Facebook and Instagram and some of these social platforms is that the audiences you can build off of that, the data that they have can really help target not just your social ads, but then you can take that data and also use it in other types of paid media, YouTube, all of those things, because of the data that they provide of the audience that's viewing the ads. It's a very powerful tool once you get into using social ads, because you can create lookalike audiences, affinity audiences from your website to your social to your paid ads, and you can actually target your audience much more directly in that sense. So using social ads is a really good thing to have a conversation about. It's a really good thing to think about. It's kind of complicated, but I wanted to make sure that we understand that these are very important. Also, ways to use social media is with ads. And again, tailoring the content depending on what stage of the buying journey your customer's at through the audience research, because those social platforms provide a lot more demographic and a lot more audience research than just like a straight Google ad. So knowing that that is an option is a really good way to hone in your ad spend. So use PAS to build content. And this is like a content builder, sort of like formula that people often use when they're doing like ad copy and stuff. So push at your customer's pain point. So my heating and cooling is not working and it's frustrating to me, right? Agitate, look at all of the things that you're missing out because you have to deal with your broken heating and cooling, and then solve the problem. I'm the company that's going to save the day because I'm coming in to make your life easier, right? So just some basic concepts when we're talking about how we're building the message is this acronym PAS to build content. And then use a service like Social Jazz to help with content production and management. All of this is like super overwhelming. I know that like, as somebody that does a lot of this for a living, I often get overwhelmed with trying to manage content calendars and trying to keep up with like a posting schedule and all of those things. It can be a lot. And what Social Jazz does that's really nice, they actually have they have super easy to use system. And actually I was looking at it, I didn't realize that there was as much customization in there. Like I could get in there and do it too, right? Like if I had input about certain things, which was cool. I didn't realize that, I guess. Yeah.
It's got a lot of functionality.
Yeah. So it's very cool. Like, again, this is all super overwhelming sometimes to think about all of the various pieces that go into it. And like social media is so much more complicated than it used to be. Like there are so many more pieces to it. And that's, again, where a company like Social Jazz would come in. The other thing I often recommend is hiring somebody younger into the office, because they tend to have sort of an inherent understanding of how these things, like you should see even like my 8-year-old, the way she uses Instagram. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, how did you figure that out? Right. Like, if you have somebody in the office that's grown up with social media, having them help manage just the concept around how to use it and how to post is a really good way to get started. Because just the interaction with it, the way their brain moves to like understand how it works, is something that when you grow up using it's easier for them. I don't really know how else to say it without like, I'm not trying to be insulting in any way, but like it's easier for younger kids to figure this out. And if you can hire somebody in the office, one of my recommendations often is to even just hire somebody once or twice a week, come in after school, hire them part-time, have them manage your Instagram and Facebook content. They'll collect pictures from the technicians. They'll set up the posting, whatever you need to do to get your feet wet to start that ball rolling, right? Because it is about the conversation. And once you get the engagement, you get more engagement, you get more interaction. You've got to get it started somewhere. So.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I would say, as someone that's a little older, that, the corporate posts, those come easy, right? How to sell yourself. That every 4th or 5th post, the one that you're talking about, that's more sales oriented. Where the younger generation is really great is that they think in terms of entertainment value. Let me share a little bit about the people. Let me share a little bit about, why you want to do something. Let's make it fun. Let's take behind the scenes videos of the office. So have them doing those things that are traditionally more difficult for an older person to think of. Right. And then you can fill in the gaps, or someone else in the office who understands the product and understands, being that subject matter expert. Have them then take over those more traditional corporate type of posts. It's a nice mix. Yeah. And like you say, you can put everything in Social Jazz and you can push things manually if necessary. And they can, brand everything with your brand colors, with your logos. All of that is done automatically when you need it. Yeah. So it's really great.
Super cool. This is a long side. Content marketing is a long-term plan that builds your relationship with your target audience. And that's that regular producing high quality, relevant content. And that's what I'm talking about when you have somebody that just kind of inherently understands the type of stuff that people share on social media. If you can start getting that ball rolling, it is a long-term goal, but it does build over time. It establishes a sense of loyalty of customers. It results them, again, eventually choosing to buy from you rather than opting for a competitor, right? If I am engaging with this brand more often, if I am I'm sharing their funny, whatever's going on, then when my furnace breaks, right, I'm like, oh yeah, ABC heating and cooling. Like then it comes into my mind because I've been engaging with you. Even if I saw a post 6 months ago, my furnace, I don't need service on my furnace until December. But if I've been engaging with you all along the way, who's the company I'm more likely to call, right? I'm going to call the one that I've been thinking about, the one that I'm entertained by, the one that's responding to my comments, that's engaging with me, that kind of thing. We just exist online so much. I mean, this, right? I'm existing through this digital space, right? I do so much of my work through my phone. I engage with, I moved a couple of years ago and all of my friends live in Michigan and I'm in Pennsylvania. I mean, I have friends here, obviously, but most of my best friends from the last 20 years of my life are in a different state. I would say 90% of the way, or maybe 98% of the way I interact with them is through social media, right? And so if I'm already engaging with my friends in that space, if I can engage with the companies around me in that space, you're becoming a part of that conversation, and that's why it's so important to be a part of that. So I would say plan your content and actively engage with your audience. Those are probably the 2 takeaways that I would say, and work with Social Jazz. So thank you, Social Jazz. I'm from BXB Media. This is our website is bxbknowshvac.com. You can learn more about us. And yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's always so fun to talk and
Terrific.
yeah.
It was a great presentation. I appreciate that. I love your energy. And I think that, all of your recommendations were spot on for sure.
That's good.
Yeah. So in closing, I just want to say thank you again to Angela for everything that she shared with you all today. We've covered a lot of great information and you obviously have a lot of expertise and we appreciate you sharing that with us. Yeah. And if anyone has any questions, of course, about Social Jazz or the Social Jazz platform, you can reach out to Social Jazz at hello@socialjazz.com and be sure to just try the free trial. You can try it out, see if it works for you guys. And if you have any questions, they're always there to help. Again, thank you for joining us on this episode of In the Pocket Training. And I hope that you will join me for the next one. Have a great day.